In Russia's President Vladimir Putin has asked the upper house of parliament for permission to use armed forces in Ukraine until the situation there is stabilized. This follows an appeal by authorities in Ukraine's Crimea for Russia's help in stabilizing the situation in the region. The Russian parliament and the foreign minister earlier expressed concern over the situation in Crimea and asked the president to take measures to protect the citizens of the autonomous republic. And RT's Irina Galushko has been following the reaction in Moscow to the events in Crimea. Let's go live to her right now. Hi there, Irina. So did we get any idea what Russian MPs want to see happen next? Irina, can you hear us?
Yes. Now we know that President Putin has turned to the upper house of the Russian parliament with asking them for the permission to allow Russian troops on the ground in Ukraine until the situation there normalizes. Now, this comes after both houses of the Russian parliament have turned to the president, asking him to take measures in order to stabilize the situation, particularly in Crimea, in order to protect the population, including the Russian-speaking population, from any further violence or upheaval in that region. So we're watching that very closely right now. At this point, we have no idea about what number of troops we could possibly be even talking about. But of course, I'm imagining we'll be getting all the information pretty soon.
Irina, yesterday you were in Rostov-on-Don. You were listening to the ousted president's speech there. What exactly did he have to say? Please, could you remind us?
Well, yes, of course. One of the most, you can say one of the main ideas that the ousted President Yanukovych has to say was the fact that he does not recognize the legitimacy of those who call themselves the government of Ukraine at the moment. He insisted he still is the president of Ukraine, and logically and judicially that is absolutely correct, because he hasn't been impeached nor has he resigned, and he's still very much alive. So technically he is the elected president of Ukraine. He talked about the reasons why he had to leave Ukraine. He said it was after attempts on his life and after threats that him and his family have received, including threats to the life of his youngest grandson. He's also talked about the fact that he does not in any way believe that Ukraine possibly could be divided. That is one of the things that he has underlined on numerous occasions. He also took a chance to apologize to the police, the Berkut, the Golden Eagles, who have been in standoff for months in the central Kiev on the square with the protesters, and who have carried heavy losses. He said that he has seen them and he has expressed his condolences already, but he wanted to do it once again. And he also said that he's determined to fight for Ukraine's future and to see that Ukraine stays undivided, stays the way it is right now. He's also actually mentioned the fact that he is hoping that President Putin will somehow take measures in order to stabilize the situation in Ukraine. He actually said that he was surprised that the Russian president hasn't done or said anything already in that regard, knowing his character. So those are just some of the things that he said. But also Yanukovych, you can say, wrapped up the entire conference with the fact saying that he does not believe the people of Ukraine will follow the current self-proclaimed government in the country right now.
And earlier also, Irina, we were witnessing what was happening at an urgent session of the Russian parliament, the State Duma, which was discussing the provision of aid to the Crimean autonomy. Could you tell us more about that as well? Please remind us.
Absolutely. Well, one of the most important aspects in this entire situation with Ukraine is the fact that there is a lot of Russian nationals and, of course, people who consider themselves to be ethnically Russian who live in the east and particularly in Crimea. And it's their fate, their safety and security is of primary concern for the Russian legislators at this particular moment. That is why they have turned with official address to the Russian president, asking him to get involved in order to stabilize the situation, in order to protect these very people who are essentially Russian from any aggression from the radical groups that are operating in Ukraine. And it is becoming considerably more and more unsafe for them there, you can say. At some points, I actually felt like I was uncomfortable speaking Russian when I was in Kiev. And that, for a lot of people in Russia and in eastern Ukraine, is absurd. The Russophobia is on the rise, particularly because of the radicals who are operating, who seem to be streaming in from western Ukraine. And of course, a lot of whom have actually permeated the branches of the government. And that is also one of the statements that was made by representatives of the Federal Council earlier today.
Irina Galushka live there. Irina, thank you very much indeed. We appreciate it.